What's up, y'all? We got another great one for you today. We're gonna make a flasher for $5. I got these flashers from Temu or Temu, I don't know how to pronounce it, but they were 5 for $10 on sale, right? So $2 a piece. These swivels are probably worth more than the whole thing. We're gonna be using this Moon Jelly Glow tape. I got that roll for $2 from Temu. Guys, we'll trace out this flasher and get our templates made. This is pretty simple work. We're gonna cut this cardboard down to the outside dimensions of the space on the flasher we want to fill, and then we'll cut that down a little further to the size of the label that we want to use. Okay, so we got the first piece done. This is for the flat side. That looks pretty good. Now, it's the same size as the outside dimension of the flasher. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trace a few millimeters inside that perimeter and then cut this jig down a little bit. And this doesn't have to be perfectly accurate. I mean, I would suggest that you do your best to make straight lines and so forth and make the parts fit well, because it'll be more satisfying in the end. But it's not going to impede the function in any way. This looks good. And we're going to have to cut out around these little brass fittings. And we'll use the shears that have a round cut out. These are just cheap ass craft shears, and you can see I got to weed it out a little bit with the real scissors. But that's essentially what we're looking at here. Next thing is to cut a piece of tape that's a little bit larger than the object we're trying to create. So we'll just cut this and it'll be a little bit bigger. Now, one thing that we're going to have to plan for as we go along is that the widest part of the flasher is wider than the tape. So it's not going to be, you know, edge to edge. The tape has a finite dimension and we're working inside that dimension. Let's just trace this out. It doesn't matter that I'm using a marker on the front side. If you're wondering, it'll wipe right off. And the back side is a slippery plastic as well. So there's no benefit by flipping it over. Okay, we'll cut this down to size and then we'll just scroll cut around the marks we just made. And try not to overwork the shears here. Try to make smooth, long cuts, the longest cuts you can. Because each time you open and close the shears, you could leave a little jagged edge. And then I'm just going to round off any corners because we want this thing to stick down really tight. Okay, now we're going to move on to the other side. I'll just trace this out and then cut it down to the right size. But what I'll do is mark where the bends are in the flasher. So I'll just make a quick tracing of it and then I'll mark where the bends are. There's one in the front and one in the back. And that's sort of my point of reference for where this label is going to go. So we'll cut down the sides here, and then I'll just square cut it straight across where I made my marks. All right, that's the right size. Okay, so that's the same size as the flasher. So again, we're just going to trim a few millimeters off each side to bring this down a little bit. Now I'm checking the width of the tape because that's as wide as I can go. So I'm going to mark my template at the width of the tape as well because there's no sense in using a template that's not the same size as the label we're going to apply. So this side I'll just cut off at the width of the roll. And this way when I place the template onto the flasher, it looks like how it's going to look when it's done. Dimensionally speaking. Yeah, that's looking good now. So we'll just repeat the process of cutting a piece of tape and then cutting it down to the right size, and we'll round off the corners as well. And if you guys fish with flashers, you know these typically cost between like 18 and some of them are up to 30 bucks now. So making one for $5 is like a real victory. Plus you can make it however you want. And you'll see, I don't do any planning for this. I just do it as I feel, right? So I'm going to get the dimensions correct, get the templates correct, do the work correctly. But then when it comes to the art part, I'm just going to do whatever it is I feel like doing. And that's the beauty of doing things yourself. Nobody's here telling me the way things need to be. They're going to be the way I want them to be. And you'll see the result is super fishy too. Just take your time here, because everything you rush will impact the final aesthetic of the piece. Before I apply these labels, I'm going to give this a real strong cleaning with ISO 99%. And I think it's important to use 99% because when it dries, first of all, it dries really fast. And then second of all, there's no residue left. All right, here the premium is on getting it right the first time, okay? So it's really important. I have the back partially peeled off. And it's hard to see because the back is clear as well. But what I'm going to do is just push on the center of the tape and roll the backing back because I aligned it already. So once it gets started, it can't go but one direction, and that's the direction it's already headed in. That's the good news and the bad news. But if you take your time and you work accurately, this will be no problem. All right, there it is. That's one side. Then I'm going to take a soft cloth and apply a ton of pressure. And I'm going to force this label down onto the surface. And you can see it flexing. You can see my fingers turning white because I'm really pushing hard on it. I want to make sure it has good adhesion. And I'm just going to work to the edges, to the outside, so any slack or bubbles are pushed to the outside. Here I notice right away I have a little tiny bubble. It won't make any difference in the final product. Get this other side cleaned up because I touched it with my fingers. And get that label lined up, and that's where it's going to go. And I'm going to use the label I just applied to the other side as my guide. Right? I don't want to see a misregistration between the front side and the back side because that'll look sloppy. Once more, I'll start the leading edge just dead nuts straight. Okay, and then as I lay the label down, it'll stay straight and it won't wander on me. I'm just working the label on with my left thumb as I pull the backing off. I'm placing a premium on pressure in the center of the label, because then I'll go from the center out in all directions and push out any bubbles or slack. And that one's nice, perfectly flat. But I mean, you could see already how cool this thing's gonna be. This is the template that I created earlier to make the label, and now I'm gonna use it as a template to locate the design that I want. And you can see I'm a little indecisive here, right? Because I'm not planning. I'm just thinking about the piece and the way it looks and what will make it look cool. And I like to have some symmetry as well, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, nature's not perfect, and it really doesn't matter. I always kind of wonder about people that think the fish care about these things. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to use the tip of my awl to just make a small indentation in the center of each dot. I don't want to use a marker or anything like that because alcohol will mess up the acrylic paint. And I'm just trying to see where I want to locate the features that I'm going to apply. And you can't see them, I don't think, on the video. So first is first, I'm going to take my small 0.2 millimeter gun and I'm going to apply very tight white dots with primer. And the reason I'm going to make the white dots first is that I want the color that I'm going to use, which in this case will be a neon fluorescent green. I want that to really stand out, and I don't want it to blend with the underlying colors of the tape. So by applying a white background first, it's going to make those colors really pop. So an easy way to stay on the center is to put the gun right up near the surface and then pull straight back so you know where the spray is headed. Sometimes when you've been doing this for a while, especially with really bright lights on, your eyes can get fatigued. And you may not see exactly where you're spraying the paint until it's too late. We're just going to build out these green dots here. We'll get them started and then we'll grow them. And you can see here that I've switched to a high quality gun. This is an Iwata Eclipse and it's a 0.35 millimeter. Want a larger nozzle here because I want this spray to spread more, but I don't want to pull the gun so far back that there's overspray everywhere. Okay, so I'm just following the inverse square law, and each time I double the distance from the surface I'm painting, it's going to create an area 4 times the size. So I want to keep the distance that I was painting at very similar, but also achieve a larger spot, larger nozzle. Problem solved. And I'll just hit this with a hairdryer. I don't show it in the video, but I'll hit it with a hairdryer in between coats so that it's dry. And then I'll just grow these spots to the size I want them, which in this case is about the size, I guess, of a nickel. Yeah, I like the way this is shaping up here. Now back to the bench, and we're going to use a dotting tool with some acrylic paint in black. And I'm going to just put this black dot right onto the little indentation that I created with the awl for my locator. And then problem solved there too, right? You'll never see that. Not that you could before, but I'm very particular. When I'm painting things that glow, I like to use a very dark color as a contrast, because when this is glowing, those black dots will just punch through that glow and create a contrast. And what I'm trying to do here is to create a flasher that has everything that I need. And what is that? Well, there's color to it, there's contrast to it, there's glow to it, and there's UV action to it. So this is a do-all flasher. You can fish this from the surface down to the bottom in the dark, and it'll work just as well. And from here, it's real simple. Just the clear coat of your choice. I'm going to use acrylic spray. Let's give it a quick test. What happens when you put it in the dark? There it is. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you saw how easy and inexpensive it is to make this stuff. Please like and subscribe and hit that alert bell so you can catch the next episode. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next time.